welcome to our unit on measurements and units. Unit on units. Today we're going to look at the metric system specifically, and then in the near future we're also going to look at the U.S. customary system. So we'll be able to refresh on converting within these systems. But starting with the metric system, this one is used in most of the world. The U.S. is one of the few holdouts not completely converting to the metric system. It's kind of funny because actually there was legislation in place back in the 80s that by 1991 we were supposed to completely convert over to the metric system. And look at where that got us. I don't know if just people were too reluctant or if it cost too much money. Who knows? But we didn't completely convert. But we do see it more and more in our daily lives. And that's a topic of a discussion that you can do in PAL if you're in my online class, or that we'll have in class if you're face-to-face. But anyways, very convenient system. When you start working with it, you start to see why just people everywhere in the world use it. It's based on powers of 10, which makes things super simple when you're trying to do conversions. Like if you need to convert something from, let's say, millimeters to kilometers, it's a matter of really moving your decimal point because you're working with powers of 10. When you multiply or divide by 10s, you just move your decimal point. So, a lot easier to convert, makes things, cuts down on mistakes, that sort of thing. Some of the basic units, some of them, this isn't all of them, this is not comprehensive, but some of the basic units include meter to measure length. So like if you drive up to Canada, as soon as you cross the border, your speed limit signs are in kilometers per hour because they're using meters for distance. A liter to measure liquid volume, which most of you are probably familiar with that because you can buy liter bottles of water or 2-liter bottles of soda. And then a gram to measure mass. You've probably seen that before too, like milligrams on food or centigrams. You've probably seen grams before. Then attached to the words meter, liter, and gram, you'll see prefixes. Remember, pre comes before, comes at the beginning of the word, to tell us what part or how many units we're using. Like kilometer, the kilo is the prefix. Centigram, the centi is the prefix. Okay, so there's some pictures real quick. Liter, bottle of water. A gram, if you want to picture it, it's kind of, if you hold a paper clip in your hand, that gives you an idea about how a gram feels. It's a measure of mass. It tells you roughly about how much a gram feels. And then meter stick, it's slightly longer than a yardstick, a little over 3 inches longer than a yardstick. So I'm not in person to hold up one and show you, but there's a picture of one. Okay, and here's some prefixes. You are not responsible for all of these, but I wanted to put this up here because there is a similar table in your book on page 397 in the current edition, so you can look in there, but I didn't want to pull it from the book right now for the presentation. But here are lots of different prefixes. You've seen some of them before. The milli, centi, deci, deca, hecto, kilo are the ones we're going to be focusing on. But you've heard of some of these others, like when talking about computers, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. You've heard about nanotechnology, nanobots. So those prefixes all mean something. Like nano is a billionth. It's a fraction. It's 1 billionth. Or if you come up here, like now you have these computer drives that are terabytes. A tera is trillion, so you're talking trillions of bytes there when you have several terabytes. So these are some of the prefixes that can go in front of your meter, liter, gram. Or as I was just giving examples, it wasn't exactly metrics, but talking about terabytes. Tera is a prefix in that case. How many bytes are in the computer there. Alright, but as I said, we're going to be focusing on kilo, which stands for 1,000, and the abbreviation is a K. Hecto, which stands for 100, abbreviation is an H. Deca, D-E-K-A, which stands for 10, abbreviation is D-A. The units are meters, or it's M, liters, L, grams, G. Prefix deci is 1/10 or 0.1, abbreviation is a D. Notice the difference between deca and deci. Deca is 10 whole, that's DA. Deci is 1/10, that's just D. Centi is 1/100th, or C. Milli is 1/1000th. And then there should be an M there, but oh, it's missing it. But yeah, you should have an M written in there for the abbreviation for milli. Oh, I gotta get my pen to be black here. I'll figure out how to change the default so it doesn't keep popping over to red. But yeah, the abbreviations of them. Now, if you're doing conversions, let's say you want to go from kilometers to millimeters. Over here on this end is the larger, and I have it in descending order. Like if you're going from larger to smaller, you're going that direction on the chart, you're going to multiply by a power of 10 to do your conversion. But if you're going smaller, which is on this end, like on your ruler, a millimeter is teeny tiny, and if you're going smaller to larger, you know what, let me scoot that over, because I want to make it look kind of like what I was writing up there. Alright, so if you're going smaller to larger, this pen, come on, here we go. Going smaller to larger, just going that direction. Let's say you're converting like centimeters on your ruler to decameters. Then you have to divide by a power of 10 to do your conversions. And then however many hops you make, that's the power of 10 that's what power of 10 you're using. You count your hops. Like from kilo to deca is 2 hops to the right, so you times by 10 twice. Or centi to units is 2 hops to the left, so you divide by 10 twice. The beauty of this is that you're multiplying or dividing by tens, which ultimately just results in moving your decimal. So if you're multiplying by a power of 10, larger to smaller, move the decimal to the right. Hops tell you how many. And if you're going from the right to the left, you're dividing by a power of 10, move the decimal to the left. Number of hops on the chart equals number of places to move the decimal. Because that's how many times you would have to multiply or divide by 10. So that's all it really is. If you can remember your chart, then you're good to go. Some of you might be looking at this and go, okay, that's all fine and dandy. Sounds easy, but can I have the chart in front of me? Well, no, can't have the chart in front of you for the test. You're going to have to memorize it. You're going to need to know the chart, at least know the kilo, hecto, deca, units, deci, centi, milli, and know what order they're going in. But there's a little saying that might help you remember the order. King Henry died, unfortunately, drinking chocolate milk. That might be a way to help you remember the order and how to do the chart. King for kilo, Henry for hecto, died for deca, unfortunately for units, drinking, deci, chocolate, centi, milk, milli. So maybe that little saying. There's other sayings too. Maybe that one will help you remember the chart a little better. And if you can just lay out your chart and then use that for your conversions, you should be good to go. Alright, let's do an example, a couple examples. Okay, first of all, let's say that you have 42.9 hectograms. And you want to convert this to grams. Okay? So hectograms, H is right here. This is where we're starting. And we want to convert it to units grams. So to go from hecto to units grams, we're having to hop twice to the right. So what that means for us is that we're going to move our decimal twice to the right. So that we end up with 4,290 grams. The number makes sense because a hectogram is a bigger unit, and you're converting it to smaller units. So it's going to take a heck of a lot more of these smaller units to equal these bigger units. It's kind of like miles and inches. Inches are tiny, miles are big. It takes a lot of inches to equal a mile. So it takes a lot of grams to equal a hectogram. Alright. Fresh slide, new problem. 9.32 milliliters. And we're going to convert that to liters. Okay, so we're going from milli to centi to deci to liters. We're going that direction. End up right here. So we had to go 1, 2, 3 hops to the left. So for our 9.32 milliliters, we're going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So we get 0.00932 liters. Put the 0 in front of the decimal so that you can definitely see where the decimal is. Without it, the decimal might get kind of lost in people's vision. Alright, let's see, another one. Let's say we're going from 24 hectometers to kilometers. Okay, so from hectometer to kilometer, it's only one space to the left. So our decimal gets one space to the left. So we're left with 2.4 kilometers. Okay, 0.034 milliliters. And we want to convert that to deciliters. Okay, so we're going from milli to deci. In that direction, we're going to 2 hops to the left. We've already got our decimal here. We got to hop it 1, 2 to the left. So we end up with 0.00034 deciliters. And I know it's deciliters because it's just a D. Decaliters would have been DAL. And there you go. Now, I want to do one more problem because sometimes people face this problem in the homework and they're not sure what to do. There's some questions where it asks you to arrange from smallest to largest. And they'll give you 3 quantities. So in this case, you have 2.6 kilometers, 105,000 millimeters, and 52.6 hectometers. And you're asked to put these quantities in order from smallest to largest. Now please don't jump and say, oh, 2.6 is smaller than 52.6, which is smaller than 105,000. Because these are each in different units. One's a kilometer, which is really big. One's a millimeter, which is teeny tiny. And what's a hectometer, which is pretty big, but not quite as big as a kilometer. So please put in the same units first. It really doesn't matter what units you put it into. It's up to you. I don't really care. Just put them all in the same units before you decide what's smallest and what's largest, and put them in order. So let's take 2.6 kilometers first. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to put them all in meters. I'm just for the heck of it. So kilometer, I got to hop 1, 2, 3 to the right to get to meters. So the decimal goes 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that's how many meters I got. Then 105,000 millimeters. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just put it in meters. Put everything in the same units. So milli, I got to hop 1, 2, 3 to the left. So 1, 2, 3 to the left will leave me with 105. And then for 52.6 hectometers, converting that to meters, hecto, I'm going to have to go 1, 2 to the right. So 52.6 point's going to move 1, 2 to the right. And there we go. And now that they're all in meters, now I can compare. 105 meters is the smallest. 5,260 meters is the largest. And 2,600 meters is in the middle. Okay, so when I write my answer, I said I range from smallest to largest. I'm going to write, the 105,000 millimeters first. And then I'm going to write the 2.6 kilometers second. And then I'm going to write the 52.6 hectometers third. And notice that just by the numbers, it doesn't look smallest to largest because you have 105,000 here and 52.6 there and 2.6 in the middle. But all those different units. So you have to put them in the same units before you can ever compare. There you go. Alright, well have fun with that. And when you tune in next time, we'll do a little more metrics. We're going to do some volume and metrics, and then beyond that, we'll start doing the U.S. customary measurements. Alright, thank you for joining us.